Listen carefully. This is not just a simple story. It's a story about fear, about a small child who didn't want to go to school. His hands were shaking. His heart was beating fast. He wanted to run away, but he didn't. And that one small step changed his life forever. If you have ever felt afraid, if you have ever wanted to give up, this story is for you. Stay with me and let's begin. I still remember that morning. It felt like the world was holding its breath. The air was cool against my skin, and everything outside seemed slower than usual. Even the trees looked calm, as if they didn't want to disturb the silence of that early hour. I sat there on my bed, my small blue school bag resting gently on my lap, my fingers tracing the little bear on it again and again, as if touching it would somehow make me braver. But it didn't. My mother was still standing by the door. She hadn't moved much, just watching me, quietly. There was something gentle in her smile, but behind it, something deeper, something I didn't understand back then. Now I think, maybe she saw my fear more clearly than I did, because, inside me, everything felt mixed. Not excitement, not exactly sadness, just a strange heavy feeling, sitting in my chest, like I was about to step into something I couldn't control. I looked down at my uniform again. It was perfect. No wrinkles, no stains. Everything exactly the way it should be. But somehow, that made it worse, because everything was ready. Except me. My question came out almost like a whisper. Do I have to go? I think part of me hoped she would say no, that she would smile, and say, not today. You can stay a little longer. But she didn't. Instead, she came closer, slower this time, sat beside me, and held my hand. Her hand was warm, steady, safe. Yes, she said softly, but I will be with you. Those words, they didn't remove my fear, but they gave me something else, a small piece of courage, just enough to stand up. We walked out of the house together. Step by step, I didn't let go of her hand, not even for a second. The road felt longer than usual that morning. Every step seemed louder. Every sound seemed clearer. A motorbike passed by. A bird flew across the sky. Somewhere, a door opened. Everything was normal, but inside me, nothing was. As we got closer to the school, the silence began to disappear. First, faint voices, then laughter, then the sound of many children talking at once. It grew louder with every step, and my heart started racing to match it. I could feel it beating in my chest, fast, unsteady, almost like it was trying to run away before I even arrived. I held my mother's hand tighter, maybe too tight, but she didn't pull away. She just held it back, just as firmly. When the school gate finally came into view, I stopped for a moment, just a second, but it felt longer. Children were everywhere. Some were laughing, some were crying, some were running freely, like they already belonged there. And I stood there, feeling like I didn't belong anywhere yet. This is it. I thought, this is where everything begins. But beginnings are strange. They don't always feel exciting. Sometimes, they feel like standing at the edge of something unknown. Sometimes, they feel like fear. And in that moment, that was all I could feel. Not ready. Not strong, just a small child, holding tightly onto the only hand that felt like home. And slowly, very slowly, learning how to let go. The school gate was big, too big. For me, it stood there like a giant wall between two worlds. Behind me, home; in front of me, everything unknown. There were many children, more than I had ever seen in one place. Some were smiling brightly, holding their parents' hands with excitement. Some were crying loudly, their tears falling without stopping, just like me. I looked around, but the more I looked, the more everything started to blur together. Everything felt loud, too loud. Voices, overlapping, footsteps running, laughter, mixed with crying. It was like a storm, made of sound, to many faces, to many voices, and none of them felt familiar. I moved closer to my mother, so close. I was almost hiding behind her, like if I stayed there, nothing could reach me, nothing could hurt me. She gently touched my shoulder, and slowly, she pushed me forward. Not hard, not suddenly, just enough to remind me that I couldn't stay behind her forever. "It's okay," she said softly. Her voice was calm, so calm. It almost didn't match the noise around us. Then, I saw her, a teacher, walking toward us, step by step. She didn't rush. She didn't look busy like the others. She just walked calmly toward me. Her face was kind, her eyes were soft, and when she smiled, it didn't feel scary, it felt safe. "Hello," she said. Her voice was gentle, like she already knew I was afraid, but I couldn't answer. My voice disappeared somewhere inside me. I just looked down at my shoes, at the ground, anywhere. But at her, my hands were cold, so cold. Even though the morning wasn't, my heart felt heavy, like it was pulling me backward, like it didn't want me to take another step. My mother bent down in front of me. She didn't rush me. She didn't force me. She just looked into my eyes. "You are strong," she said. Her voice was quiet, but firm. "I will be here when you finish." Those words, I didn't fully understand them at that moment. I didn't know what strong really meant. I didn't know how long finish would be, but somehow, those words stayed. They wrapped around my fear, like something warm, something steady, something I could hold on to, even when her hand was gone. Then, I felt a new hand, the teacher's hand. It was different from my mother's, not as familiar, but still, gentle, still, patient. "Come with me," she said. I hesitated, just for a second, maybe longer. Time felt strange in that moment. I looked back. One more time. My mother was still there, standing near the gate, watching me, smiling, but not moving. She raised her hand and waved. That small gesture, it meant everything. And suddenly, I wanted to run back, to leave everything, to hold her hand again, to go home, where everything made sense. I really did. But something inside me, something quiet, something small, told me to stay. Maybe it was her words, maybe it was her smile, or maybe it was the first moment I learned that being brave doesn't mean not being afraid. It means walking forward, even when you are. So I walked slowly, very slowly. Each step felt heavy, like my feet didn't belong to me, like they were learning how to move in a new world. The classroom door was open. Inside, more voices, more children, more unknown things waiting. I stopped at the door for a second, just 1 second, took a small breath, And then, still holding the teacher's hand, I stepped inside into a place that felt unfamiliar, into a moment I would never forget, into the very beginning of becoming someone new. The classroom was bright. The light came in softly through the windows, touching everything inside. Small chairs, small tables, colorful pictures on the walls. There were drawings of animals, letters of the alphabet, and shapes in every color you could imagine. It should have felt warm. It should have felt welcoming, but to me, it didn't feel like anything, because inside, I just felt alone. The teacher showed me a seat. "Sit here," she said gently. I nodded, just a little. Then I sat down quietly, trying not to make any noise, trying not to be noticed. The chair felt small beneath me. The table felt strange. Everything around me felt like it belonged to someone else. Not me. There were other children around me, close. So close I could hear them breathing, talking, whispering. Some were talking happily, like they had already found friends. Some were laughing loudly, like they had been here forever. But I said nothing, not a single word. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know what to say. And even if I did, I don't think my voice would have come out. Minutes felt like hours. Time moved slowly, painfully slowly. Every second stretched longer than it should. I kept looking at the door again and again, like if I looked enough times, it would open, like my mother would suddenly appear and say, "Okay, you did enough. Let's go home." I waited. I hoped quietly, desperately, but the door stayed closed, and she didn't come back. Then suddenly, a small movement beside me. A chair scraped lightly. Someone sat down next to me. I turned my head. Just a little. It was a boy, about my age. He looked at me and smiled. A simple smile, not too big, not too loud, just friendly. "Hi," he said. My heart jumped a little, not from fear this time, but from surprise. I wasn't ready. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The shyness wrapped around my voice again, holding it tight. But he didn't stop. He didn't look away, didn't get upset. "My name is Tom," he said, still smiling, still patient. I looked at him just for a second. Our eyes met, and in that moment, something felt different. Not scary, not heavy, just new. "My name is Tony." The words came out softly, almost like a secret, but they came out, and that was enough. He nodded like it mattered, like my words mattered. "That's a nice name," he said, and for the first time that morning, I felt something shift inside me, just a little, like a tiny door opening. The noise around me didn't feel as loud anymore. The room didn't feel as big anymore. I wasn't completely alone anymore. The teacher began the lesson. Her voice was calm, slow, careful. She smiled often, like she wanted us to feel safe. She showed us pictures, bright pictures, simple ones, a cat, an apple, a ball. She said the words, clearly easy sounds, easy to follow. I began to listen, not because I wanted to, not because I suddenly loved learning, but because there was nothing else to hold on to. So I listened quietly, carefully, and sometimes I repeated the words in my head, softly, silently, trying to understand, trying to belong. Just a little more. Tom raised his hand once, then twice. He answered questions, not perfectly, but bravely. And every time he tried, the teacher smiled. That smile, it wasn't just for him, it was for all of us, it said. It's okay to try. And somehow, that message reached me too, slowly, very slowly. The tight feeling in my chest began to loosen. My hands weren't as cold anymore. My breathing felt easier. The fear, it didn't disappear all at once, but it began to fade, like a shadow, slowly moving away from the light, and in its place, something small began to grow. Not confidence, not yet, but maybe. Just a quiet beginning. The beginning of feeling. A little less afraid. A little less alone. And maybe, just maybe, a little more ready to stay. Time passed. I didn't notice when it happened, but something inside me became lighter. It wasn't sudden. It didn't come like a big wave. It was quiet. So quiet. I almost missed it at first. I was still sitting there, holding on to my fear like it was something I couldn't let go of. But little by little, that tight feeling in my chest began to loosen. My shoulders didn't feel so heavy anymore. My hands stopped shaking. And then, it happened. The teacher asked a question, a simple one. She looked around the room. Then, her eyes stopped on me. For a second, my heart froze. I wanted to look away. I wanted to disappear. But something inside me didn't let me. Slowly, I raised my hand. Not high, not confidently, just enough. My voice was small when I answered, almost trembling, but it came out, and when I finished, there was a short silence, just a moment, but it felt long. Then the teacher smiled, a warm, proud smile. Good job, she said. 2 simple words, so simple. Anyone could say them, but to me, they felt like something big, very big. Those words stayed with me, not just for that moment, but for a long time after. They echoed softly in my mind, again and again, like a quiet reminder. You did it. During break time, the classroom became noisy again. Children stood up, talked, ran around, laughed freely. I stayed at my seat at first, still unsure, still watching. Then Tom turned to me. He laughed about something small. Something I didn't fully understand. But his laughter, it felt easy, like he opened his snack. Then, without thinking too much, he broke it in half and gave me a piece. No big words, no questions, just a simple act. I looked at it, then at him, and for the first time that day, I smiled. It was small, a little shy, but it was real, and in that moment, something shifted again. The classroom didn't feel so cold anymore. The voices didn't feel so loud anymore. The faces around me didn't feel so strange anymore. And suddenly, the school didn't feel so scary. It felt okay, not perfect, not comfortable yet, but okay. And sometimes, okay is enough. When the bell rang, a sharp, clear sound filled the room. I stood up quickly, almost without thinking. My heart started beating fast again. But this time, it was different. Not fear, not exactly, something else. Something closer to excitement. I moved toward the door. Faster now, not as slow as before. And then, I saw her, my mother, standing there waiting. Just like she promised. She hadn't left. She hadn't forgotten. She was still there, and the moment I saw her, everything inside me rushed forward. I ran to her. Without hesitation, without fear, I did it. I said, my voice was stronger this time, clearer. She looked at me and smiled. That same gentle smile. I knew you could. We walked home together, side by side. The road was the same. The houses were the same. The sky, still soft above us. Everything looked exactly like it did that morning, but I was not the same. Something had changed, something small, but important. That day, I learned something I didn't have words for yet. Fear is loud at the beginning, very loud. It fills your head, it stops your steps, it makes everything feel impossible. But if you take one step, just one small step forward, it begins to change. It becomes quieter, softer, less powerful, and sometimes that one step changes everything. I was still a small child, still shy, still unsure of many things, still learning how to speak, how to listen, how to belong. But that day, I started something new. Not just school, but courage. A quiet kind of courage. The kind that doesn't shout. The kind that simply says, try. And even now, after so many years, when I feel afraid again, when I stand in front of something unknown, I remember that little boy holding a blue bag, walking slowly into a place that felt too big for him. And I tell myself, if he could do it, so can I. And now the story is over. But maybe this is not just his story. Maybe it is your story too, because at some point in life, we all feel afraid, afraid of something new, afraid of something unknown. We want to stop. We want to go back. We want to stay safe. But life doesn't grow in comfort. It grows when you take that first step, even if your hands are shaking, even if your heart is not ready. Just one step. That's all it takes. That little boy, he didn't become brave in one day. He was still scared, but he moved forward anyway. And that is courage. So today, whatever you are afraid of, remember this. You don't have to be strong. You don't have to be perfect. You just need to take one small step, because one day you will look back and realize that was the moment. Everything started to change. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. If you want a deeper story, watch the next video.